Welcome back to another great video about how to draw. Today, I'll show you how I drew these stairs in 2-point perspective. So grab your pencil, your eraser, your ruler, and a piece of paper that is 9 by 12, and let's draw. I'm set up here today with a piece of paper that's 9 inches tall, 12 inches wide, and I'm ready to start some stairs in 2-point perspective. To start my day, I'll start out here with 1/2 inch, and I'm going to use that for my eye level. So I'm going to go ahead and start right here in my upper left-hand corner, and I'll measure down from that corner carefully 1/2 inch, and I'll put a mark right there. Okay, coming over here, upper right hand corner, I'm going to do the same thing. I will measure down 1/2 inch. Okay, I'm going to line those up, and I'm going to connect from one side to the other a nice straight across horizontal line. I'll take a careful look. Let's go ahead and draw. Okay, now some artists call this line a horizon line, but I prefer the term eye level, the height of the artist's eyes. I'm going to label that over here, right above the line. I'll print the two words eye level, E-Y-E, and then L-E-V-E-L. This is a 2-point perspective drawing, so I will need 2 vanishing points. Vanishing point number 1, right here, touching my eye level and the edge of my paper. I'll draw a small dot and label it VP1. Vanishing point number 1. Coming over here, I'll repeat that. My dot is going to touch my eye level and the edge of my paper. I should say vanishing point, and I'll label that VP2. Okay, very good. Next, measurements that I want to use. Okay, so I'm going to use next 4.5 inches and 9 inches. So I'm going to start right here, upper left-hand corner, and I'm going to go across the top of my paper, and I'm going to put a mark at those 2 measurements. So there's 4.5 and 9 right there. Okay, I want to do the same thing across the bottom. So here I go, across the bottom, I will go 4.5 inches right there and 9 inches right there. Okay, I'm going to line up my 4.5 inch marks like this, but I'm going to start drawing from my eye level line. I'll draw down until I hit the bottom of my paper. And I want to keep that line as light as possible. Okay, 9 inch marks. I'll line those up like this, and I'll do the same thing. I'll draw from my eye level down till I hit the bottom of my paper. Okay, so I have these 2 vertical lines, as you can see right there. Okay, next measurements. Let me get rid of these right here. And I'm going to use 1 inch and 4 inches. Okay, now I want to measure those right here. Starting right here at the top of this line here, I'll measure down. Okay, so I'm starting right here like this, and I'll put a mark at 1 inch, just a dot on the line, and at 4 inches as well. Okay, hopefully you are drawing nice and light. Grab your eraser, and let's erase above the dot. I'm going to erase that section of vertical line that is above that dot like that. Okay, then below my dot, I'm going to erase this vertical line as well. Once again, if you draw light in perspective, that's to your advantage. Always makes your life easier. Okay, now let's double check the length of this line. Now, if I've done this right, it should be exactly 3 inches tall, and it is. Okay, excellent. All right, next measurements. So let's use these right here. Let's use 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1 1/2, 2, and 2 1/2. So what I want to do is I want to make those marks right here, beginning at the top of this line, going down. I'll put a mark at each of those measurements. In other words, I'm marking the line every 1/2 inch. Okay, so I've got that right there, and I'll go 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1 1/2, 2, and 2 1/2. Okay, so that means that I have divided up this line segment equally. All right, let's use our vanishing point. So I'm going to start at the top of this line. I'm going to use vanishing point number 1. So I'll grab my ruler like this. I'm going to line up the top of my line with vanishing point number 1. Now, instead of drawing towards my vanishing point, from the top of my line, I'm going to draw outward and downward like this. Stop when I hit that vertical line right there, as you can see. Okay, then I'm going to repeat that process for the rest of my marks, all the time using vanishing point number 1. Okay, so here's my 1/2 inch mark, outward, downward, 1 inch mark, outward and downward. This one is my 1 1/2 inch mark, drawing downward until I hit that vertical line. Okay, here's my next one right here. Outward, downward, lightly, of course. Okay, next one, this is my 2 1/2 inch mark, outward and downward. And my last one is the bottom of that line right there. And as you can see, my ruler just barely reaches. Okay, and I'll draw outward and downward like that. Okay, excellent. All right, now with my eraser, the next thing I want to do is I want to erase the section of line right here, short section right there, just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to erase right here as well, like this. All right, very good. Okay, now did you see how I used math or measurements to divide this line segment into equal parts? Each one is 1/2 inch. Okay, notice that. However, in perspective at this point, I can no longer use measurements or math to divide my steps equally. I have to use a trick of perspective. Okay, so here I go. Pay attention, don't get lost. I'm going to draw a light diagonal line from here to here. Nice and light. Okay, so here I go. I'm going to draw from one corner to the other a nice light diagonal line. Okay, now what this line does is it divides our space equally in perspective. What it means is everywhere that the diagonal line crosses one of my vanishing point lines, at that location, I am going to draw a vertical line for a step or a stair. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that then. So I'm going to start right here with this location here. I'm going to put my ruler on it. Now, what is problematic is that it's easy to draw crooked stairs. So try to keep your ruler nice and vertical. And I'll put location number 1 right there with a vertical line. Okay, now I'm going to move down my stairs doing the same thing, trying to keep my ruler nice and vertical instead of crooked. Okay, so I'm looking there and I'll draw right there. Okay, continuing. Right there. Here's my next one. Look at my ruler carefully. I'll put my line here. Here's my last one right here. I want to take a careful look. Make sure my ruler is nice and straight. And I'll draw a line right there. Okay, now that's a very important principle in perspective of how we divide space equally without using math or numbers. Okay, now hopefully you are drawing light because now I have a lot of erasing to do. Okay, so what I want to do is clean this up so that I'm just looking at the side of my porch or the side of my stairs. So just like this, I'm just going to erase. As I mentioned earlier, the lighter you draw in perspective, the easier your life will be. Okay, so I'm erasing here as well, like that. And right here also. Okay, very good. Now that my eraser is all warmed up, I'm going to keep on using it. I'm going to erase all the lines that are in the middle of this shape. So I'm just left with the outside edge, which will make it easier for me to understand. Okay, so I'm going to keep on going with my eraser, like this. Erasing carefully. There we go. And right here also. Like that. And right there. Okay, what I want to have left over, as I mentioned, is just the outside edge of this shape. Okay, like that. And like this. Okay, very good. And there I have it. Let me just erase just a little bit more right there. Okay, excellent. All right, let me get rid of these measurements right here. What that means is all these stairs are of the same size in perspective. Okay, next measurement I want to use. So I want to use now 10 inches. Okay, so I'm going to measure right here from my upper right-hand corner. If I say right hand, I meant left, upper left-hand corner, and I'm going to go across the top, 10 inches right there. Lower left corner, across the bottom, 10 inches. Okay, I'm going to line those up like this. I'm going to draw nice and light, of course. and I'll put this line in from my eye level line down to the bottom of my paper. Okay, excellent. All right, let's continue with vanishing point number 2. And I need to draw locations numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. All of them towards vanishing point number 2. I'll start here at the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to start right here. I'm going to line up with vanishing point number 2, but I'm going to save myself some erasing work. And I'm just going to draw towards vanishing point number 2, stop right there. When you hit that vertical line, don't go any further. Okay, let's continue. Next location, same thing, stopping right there. Now I'm at this location. Next, always going towards vanishing point number 2. Continuing. Now you can't forget any of these locations or it won't work out. Okay, continuing, I'm still using vanishing point number 2. There I go again. There's a couple left. Vanishing point number 2. And right here also. And last one. This one here at the top, vanishing point number 2. Now sometimes when I'm working on this, I like to make sure that I've drawn all my lines. So I'm going to double check and count those. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 is the right number. Okay, I'm going to grab my eraser and I'm now going to erase this length of line from here to here. Okay, and as I do that, you can now see that I have formed the side of this bottom stair. Okay, now I'm looking right here at this location. And I've got to line that up with vanishing point number 1, like this. Get that lined up with vanishing point number 1, and I'm going to draw, stop right there when I hit that vanishing point line. Okay, now again, I've arrived at an opportunity that I need to use very careful judgment. Okay, what I want to do is I'm going to draw from right here a straight up vertical line like this. Okay, now let me erase for a moment. So I'll erase here and here. And while I'm right there, I'm just going to go ahead and get that line also. Right there, just like that. Okay, let's continue. So now I'm going to use vanishing point number 1 again, like this. Stop right there. Vertical line, once again, right here. Now I'm trying to make sure that ruler is nice and straight when I draw. I don't want it to be crooked. It always looks very unprofessional when you draw crooked stairs. Okay, like that. Okay, vanishing point number 1. Now at this point, I'll save all my erasing until the end. And And I'll draw towards vanishing point number 1, right there. My vertical line. Again, I'm checking my ruler to make sure it's nice and straight up and down. Vertical line right there. Take your time. Vanishing point number 1. Vertical line right here. Look at that. Move your ruler till you're sure it's nice and straight up and down. Put that in right there like that. Vanishing point number 1. Right there. Vertical line right here. Kind of getting into a bit of a rhythm here as I work through this perspective. Right there. And finally, vanishing point number 1. And this will give me the top edge of my top stair. Right there. All right, find your eraser and we'll clean this up. We'll get rid of all these additional lines that were just construction lines, temporary as you can see, like this. And there we go. Once again, I'm hoping you're drawing nice and light. Hope you're drawing lighter than me. As you can see here, I had to draw a little too dark to make it show up on the camera. And hopefully your lines are lighter than mine and easier for you to erase. Yeah, right there, and just one little section right there. All right, and there you have it, a set of stairs in 2-point perspective. And notice how we used the diagonal method to divide our stairs equally. What that means is that this bottom stair is the same size as this top one in perspective.